Yeah, there, here I am. I was coerced to come here by Trixie. Okay. What's up, guys? It's been a while. It's been like a few days. I was banned until yesterday, but I'm back. As you know, they can't stop me. It's midnight. Roker, you always tell me what time it is over there. Join the military? No, I wouldn't be a very good military person. I'm doing just fine, Jackie. Thanks for asking. How about you? And hey, YouTube guys, YouTube out there. Yeah, Angie, it has been a while. Hopefully we get some good debates. But let's get some people in here that disagree. Hat and headphones, yeah, because I just kind of woke up, kind of. Well, I didn't take a shower, so I wear hats to hide my bad hair. All right, let me ban this guy 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready for debates too. We got 500 people watching, but we have no request. So hopefully we get a request soon. Do you have kids? I don't have kids. Good morning, Armin. If you disagree with any of this stuff, you should request. You have to have 1,000 followers. You have to be over the age of 18. I think that, let me make sure I have that setting on. I know there's a setting to make it to where you can make this like for adults, but I forgot how to do that. Hey, Cody. Where does the trans thing come from? Well, just God changed his gender. That look is everything. I literally did it because I did not like the way my hair looked. I'm hiding my bad hair. Hey, Randy. Hey, Amy Newman. What's going on? Man, no request. You can only go live eight. Yeah, you have to be over 18. How do you how do you know God changed his gender? Well, under Christianity, um, Jesus wasn't a man before, and he changed his gender identity. He became a man. Something like that. Hey, pigs, what's going on? Yeah, I support the LGBTQ community. I'm tempted to restart the live, but I kind of wait around. I have no requests. Maybe my guest thing is not working. I don't know. Or it's been a while since I've been streaming. So, do you still keep in touch with JP? Occasionally. Sometimes he says hello. Sometimes I say hello. I'm not. I'm not in college anymore, Roke. Hey, what's up, Marlon? What do you mean by support the LGBTQ? Like, I don't want to get in their way. I don't want anyone to get in their way. You know, I think that's what you're talking about. Like politically, let's say. And I think it's okay to be gay. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, this is one of those restart live situations, I think. But I'll chill and chat for a second. Maybe there's someone that requests. Would you ever do a podcast? I think this is the closest thing I would do, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. You could make this a podcast, but don't start with Islam. I don't know if we agree or disagree. You made a response to one of my videos? I wonder if you can request Savvy. You can't. Too bad. I wonder what you said. I think Does God Exist is a better hook. Maybe. But I want people coming in here knowing what they're dealing with. They're dealing with a rabid atheist. If I just put does God exist, it sounds like I'm open to yes, which I think there's good reason to think no. Am I going to celebrate Chinese New Year? Probably with my wife. Oh, wow. Okay, we're back up. Guys, go ahead and hit the like. Let's get someone in here that disagrees. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim atheist, you should request a rabbit. No, rabid. You like a rabid dog? Cultural appropriation? Yeah, I'm married. Yeah. Basically, I said that gender is a purely human thing. Divine persons don't have it at all. Well, it depends. I'm not close to the idea, but Christians refer to Jesus, the Son of God. They refer to one of the persons of the Trinity as the Father. They refer to God as He. A lot of Christians think it's inappropriate or even disrespectful to refer to God as she. So maybe you might think that gender doesn't apply to God, but most people use gendered terms to refer to God. Yeah, you just wanted to start an argument. Exactly. I like to argue. I like to debate. Atheism is false and illogical. Too bad you're not requesting. We could talk about it. You smashed the like button. Thanks, Amy. We're still waiting for someone to request. I haven't gotten any requests. I have just people listening. Craziness. No, none of y'all disagree, huh? Well, none of y'all that disagree and can request. Arguing and debating are different. I don't know what you mean then. Only white people are doing this. Really, I've seen uh a lot of black people doing kind of religious talks. Plus, I've met some black atheists on here. I think black people are definitely engaged in the conversation. And there are black atheists on here for sure that talk. I think I'm forgetting their names, but they're definitely around. All right, got a request. If I need YouTube, I need to refresh. Sometimes this goes crazy. Guys, request if you want to fight, if you want to debate. There's a request. Okay, you're not a troll, Nesta. Let's give you a second chance.
Okay. I'm not a troll, bro. Chill.
But you're probably under the age of 18, so I'm not gonna gamble with that. And you're one of those people that had um a smoke alarm on. I don't know how you're not um triggered by it like I am. Uh Someone asked, Christianity is false yet say he is transgender. I'm saying under Christianity, if you're a Christian, you're committed to something like that Jesus is transgender since he changed his gender. How do you request you go to the bottom left? There should, on my device at least. Sometimes it's on the bottom, middle, I don't know. Hit guest and just request. But you have to have 1,000 followers and you have to be over the age of 18. So no request sucks though. We got to get some debates going, guys. All religions are valid. I'm not so sure about that. What do you mean this is false? It's just the fundamental claims about Christianity is false. That's what that means. What do I mean by Jesus being transgender? The point is that Jesus existed before his incarnation and he transitioned to man when he became a man. Something like that. I could add meat to the argument, but that's what it is briefly. What's up, Psycho Fairy? Am I an anxious person? I can be. I mean, it just depends on the context. But, you know. Thanks, Evil. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm only wearing the hat because I had a bad hair day. When I have bad hair, you see, like you see this shit? It wants to go up. It's like freaking out of control. I always seem calm. That is not true. People that watch my lives know that I can lose it. Your argument is so logical. I don't even know if I wouldn't even bet. I would bet that you don't understand the argument. All right, let's go to the. Hopefully, this is a better request. What's up, baby? What do we disagree? And your name is baby. That's why I'm calling you baby.
Oh, my bad. It's only if you disagree, and I just had a question, but never mind.
Oh no, you can ask a question. We're in no rush. There's like not a line.
Yeah, so I seen you said Jesus is transgender. What you mean? What you mean by that?
So in Christianity, Jesus existed before he became a man, right? And he has a gender because Christians refer to Jesus as the Son of God, as a he and him, even though he's not a man. So he had a
Mm.
gender identity. And then when he became a man, he changed his gender identity. So that's just what I mean by transgender.
Oh, okay, I get what you mean. And then the Christian. So I mean, I don't know if you feel comfortable with saying though. What I mean, you already talking about. So like, what do you believe in?
Oh, I'm an atheist.
Oh, word. Okay, I got
What are
you.
you?
So, I'm exploring really. I can say that.
Yeah.
I can say that. So, so what's false about Christianity?
Well, Christianity thinks that there's like a perfect being out there, and this is just not the world I would expect if there was a perfect being. Like, you would think a perfect being could do better. Like if there was a perfect, I don't know, car manufacturer, and then they gave me a car and it's like breaking down all the time and it's ugly and I can barely fit in it. It just doesn't seem like it's a perfect car manufacturer, right?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So if there's a perfect creator, this creation sucks. There's like genocides, there's illnesses, I can go all, you don't know. I don't need to tell you.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think they can control illnesses. You feel me? Like, I don't think
You don't
anybody
think
can
God
control.
can control illnesses?
Like, I don't think anybody can.
Well, I agree. We probably can't control all of illnesses, or we're very limited. But Christians and Muslims think that God is unlimited. He's unlimited in power, so he could just snap his fingers and then there's no sickness or illness.
Man, yeah, that's just like we can make illnesses. I mean, really, if you think about it, like Russia sending all. I mean, they said they had those little kind of bombs in Korea and all that. So I mean, I guess they can make illnesses. I mean, people
All right.
can. I
Well,
get what you're saying.
I
But I
appreciate
ain't gonna.
appreciate your request, man. Thanks for the questions.
All right.
All right, see ya. Oh,
Hey Danny, how you doing, man?
what's up, Crash? How are you?
I'm great. I just got home. Okay. I have two things I want to talk about. The first is your first point. The second one is the transgender one. So
Okay. Yeah.
we'll just tackle the easier one first, the transgender one. I think that'll require less talking.
Yeah. So under Christianity, Jesus existed before the incarnation. And most Christians think that Jesus had a gender before the incarnation. He's the Son of God before the incarnation. He's not like the daughter of God. He's a he, him, right? So he has a type of gender identity that's different than all humans, right? Not a human gender. And then when he became a man, right, he changed his gender identity. And that's just what I mean by transgender.
Oh, so I have a little problem with this. First of all, is I don't think there was a transition. Because the gender identity he assumed in before the incarnation, which was the he him, regardless of the species it's applied to, would just be the gender identity he takes whenever he is like on the earth. No,
Is Jesus a man before the incarnation?
Jesus. When you say man, what do you mean? Like human, or do you mean man as in like the gender?
Man isn't, I mean, presumably you have a concept of man, right?
Yeah.
And that might be socially grounded or biologically grounded. It really doesn't matter. But it's grounded in either a social setting within human societies or a biological grounding within the human species. And that's how I understand man. It's some kind of cluster concept. So there's going to be all sorts of properties and roles that men or women fulfill, or, but the point is that if Jesus doesn't participate in human societies or in human biology before the incarnation, but nonetheless he has a gender identity, right? He has preferred pronouns in the Bible. He's the Son of God before the incarnation, right? Then he has a gender. It's just nothing to do with human society or human biology. It's just a different gender altogether.
I don't think that gender is rooted in like society, human like biology. I don't think that's true. When I take
then I have
gender,
no idea what you mean by man then.
Oh, well, by man, I'm just gonna referring to how people perceive you to be. So God may have perceived Jesus to be a man. He may have perceived himself to
Wait,
be a
just
man.
define man for me, or give me a gist. Yeah.
Yeah. So man is usually the traits associated with like being a male and the
Okay.
social outlook set interpretation.
Okay, so that's my definition. I just said it, right? Man
Yeah.
is grounded in human social relations and or human biology. Either one. There's like different senses of the term.
Well,
But the
sure.
point is that
So,
would you consider rabbits to be men? I mean, no, because they're outside the context of humanness.
well, I think we can assign a gender to like animals. That seems not
Yeah, but I'm
terrible
not
to me.
saying that.
So,
Look,
like,
you got to listen because I said
I
that they're not
understand.
men. I'm fine with saying rabbits have gender. They're just not to do with men and women. Men and women.
Well, I don't see why that would be escapable. So it seems like my dog would be a male dog or a man dog.
I'm not
if we
saying
took this
you think your
interpretation.
dog is a man.
I think my dog has the gender of a man. Yes, like I'm fine with saying that. That seems perfect sense to me, bro.
It makes sense to you. Are you interested in
Yeah.
women or men?
I like women.
Okay.
I like
Can
a
female
specific
dogs be
type-
women? Are your
a
female
specific
dogs women?
a specific type of female or women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you're attracted to the dogs, but I'm not. Okay.
Well, you're the one that's insinuating that female dogs can be women.
Yeah, I think that we can assign gender to animals.
I'm not saying that we can't assign a gender to animals. I'm just saying I wouldn't assign a specific gender, which is men and women, to things like amoebas and which they are asexual. So I guess things like
Maybe.
crickets. I mean,
Well, sure.
you
Well,
think
maybe.
crickets can be men, right? I don't know what you're talking about at that point.
Well, maybe, sure. Well, then if we go into that, I just don't understand how like it wouldn't apply to Jesus outside. So even if I were to accept your
But
it
I
to
don't
be
even know what
true,
you mean by it, right? Because when
by
you say
man?
when you open
Well,
when you
sure.
open
Let's
the
just go by your definition.
but when you open the possibility of a cricket being a man, right? Then I have no idea what you mean by
By man?
it. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Like I said, man is just the usual perceptual procedures. It's tied. Man just means how people perceive you, and that's usually tied to being a male in like a social setting. So I'm sure other crickets see like a man cricket and a woman cricket.
So you think there are crickets that are men?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, go ahead and
Well, yeah,
finish your point.
yeah, no, yeah. So
Do you think now remember this is in the context of Christianity, right? Under Christianity, right, men is tied to maleness, like almost analytically, right? They don't
Yeah.
think that Christians don't think that crickets are men, right? So we're talking within the confines of Christianity because I don't think Jesus is transgender outside of the Christian context, right? Within the Christian context, there's a sense in which he is, and we're using within a Christian context, dogs cannot be men and crickets cannot be men.
well, sure, yeah, I guess I agree.
Okay.
So now let's just go into the first one. The Christianity is false. Do you have are you like an atheist that posits like God can exist or it's an impossibility, or you just like don't want to hear the justification, I guess, or the argument?
It just depends on the concept of God. Before we're talking about like a perfect being, which is what Christians want to forward, and that might imply some omni properties plus there does. Yeah, I think that God is logically impossible. But
Do you have a problem with like the creator, like a creator God?
like a mind that formed the universe kind of thing?
Yeah,
I think that might be
like Kalam posits.
Yeah, it depends on that. Well, you would have to reform the Kalam because I mean, there's like Craig's version of the Kalam, which I think is a non-starter. But
I like Craig's version of the Kalam, man.
yeah, but
Just read his book.
to make it work, he has to accept things like atemporal causation and all sorts of other things, and I think he might equivocate on beginning.
Well, I don't think he accepts atemporal like creation. The reason being
atemporal causation. He has to
causation.
accept it.
Yeah,
He does.
No, I don't think so.
No, 100% he does. Right.
Okay, why?
Yeah, because he thinks that, remember, after the Kalam is established, he thinks that, it establishes that there's a cause to the universe. He thinks that you can present an abductive case for the properties of the thing that might be the cause. He says, spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, impersonal. Those are the four things he lists. Also, I think he said powerful. I don't know if I said powerful. So he thinks that the cause is atemporal. And if the cause is atemporal, then you require atemporal causation.
I don't necessarily. Okay, well, if he says that, I think that's dumb. So when I think about time, it's just going to be the measurement of change. So yeah, so it's just going to be the measurement of change. So Like once he creates that shit, bro, like time, that's when time comes out. That's when it drops. Okay, so
So you think
I
God
don't.
created time?
Yeah,
Yeah, that requires atemporal causation because there has to be a
yeah. I think
cause.
he changed. Yeah,
Okay,
I think he changed.
okay. If he
That's what he
changed,
said.
the point is that you're going from one state of affairs to a
Yeah.
different state of affairs, but that state of affairs requires some kind of moment by which you can contrast the subsequent moment as change, right? So that would require a moment prior to time, which doesn't make any sense to me. That's just atemporal causation.
Maybe. Well, I'm not necessarily sure on that. Like, the reason being is because if time is a measurement of change, then we can see the first state of change and then contrast it when there was no change, and then that would be the beginning of time.
Yeah, but the problem is that I already said that if you have two states of affairs, one
Yeah.
and then the other, you have two moments. And if you're saying in the second moment there's time, but in the first moment there isn't, time is what is necessary for moments. So you're gonna have time. If you already have moments prior to time, you already have time. So you have time before time, and this is my problem with atemporal causation.
I don't. I still not understanding. I guess maybe that's just me. Like, it seems perfectly okay to me. Say there was like well, I don't even think I can use temporal concepts to describe it. So there was a state of affairs where there was no
Is that
change.
in a moment?
No, I don't think we can apply temporal
It's
concepts
not a
to this. So
moment.
temporal. Yeah.
Okay, so then there's not going to be a notion of before and after if we don't have moments, right?
Yeah, well, the before is just in reference to the change, which the change would come after.
Wait, so there is notions of before here.
Yeah, the before is in reference to time when we're talking about it.
Well, I don't
But
know what
there's
you mean
really
by before anymore.
yeah. So when I say before and how I'm using it now is just in reference to something, and that something I'm referencing is the start of time.
Say that again.
Yeah. So when I use the word before, maybe like metaphysically there was no before, but when I'm referencing it, I think I can use the notion of before.
I don't know
So
what you mean by the term. Look, the point is that if I'm using the terms before and after in temporal context, right? I'm saying that
mhm.
I'm referring to moments, ordered
You're
moments.
you're referring to like you're referring to something. Yeah, I understand.
Well, I'm talking about so like the way we understand is we have moment one, moment two, moment three,
Yeah.
and then we the way that we understand the notions of before and after is in reference to those ordered set of moments. But if you're saying there are no moments of time, there's no sequence of time
Yeah.
or anything like that, then the notions of before and after don't make any more sense.
I okay, so I agree with you that the notion of before and after doesn't make any sense, but that doesn't automatically mean that I can't reference to that sequence of events in reference to the start of time. The reason being is because when I'm using before, I'm not referring to like a metaphysical concept of what happened before. I'm just referring to you at this state of time or at this moment, there was a state of affairs before and a state of affairs after.
I've lost
So
you. I really don't understand.
yeah. So what I'm saying is that I
Start from the
understand
beginning.
there might not be a before, like if we're assessing it metaphysically, okay, which meaning what actually happened, there is no before, but when I'm referencing it, I'm referencing it in language that we can understand, so I'll reference that state of time as before, even though it might be wrong, so I can reference it
Maybe
as
I'm
X.
sorry, I'm still not
Yeah,
understanding. So you're saying, are you trying to defend this notion of before and after without a sequence?
I'm trying to defend well, I think there is a sequence, so the sequence would just be state of timelessness and then a state of time, so I'm
But those
referencing that
states
moment of state of
require
time.
moments.
I don't necessarily think that's true. I
Well,
don't
then I
think
don't
states
know.
require.
Okay, so how, if you have a state, you have the way the world is at a
Yeah,
moment,
at a
right?
moment, yes.
Okay, so now that you have so a state implies moment.
Yeah, so we have the state. Yeah, sure. We have the state, right? Which is devoid of any time.
Wait, no,
Okay.
no. But you just said a state is in a moment.
I don't necessarily. I'm
You
not
just
sure
said
about
that.
that either. No, I didn't.
Yeah,
What are you
I
talking about?
asked you if we're looking at a state, right, that
Yeah.
requires a moment, and you said yes. So
No. So I think we apply moments. I just don't see why they're linked. So
okay,
I
look,
think
take a state of affairs, a state
yeah.
where, if we freeze right now, there's going to be a state of the way things are. Okay. And if there's a
Mhm.
change, right, then you have a new state. And so what we say is that we have two states of affairs, one in the first moment and one in the second. They're ordered. When you have that order, right, then you have a sequence. And those sequences, we can talk about moments.
Yeah. So, well, then I understand. Well, then I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, we
Maybe
got
it's
pretty
just,
technical, but there are other people that are requesting. Maybe we should talk
Okay.
more on Discord.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I'll read up on Mr. William Lane Craig while I'm at it.
Well,
Okay.
just look up. Yeah, he endorses atemporal causation. I mean, there you have philosophers like Ryan Mullins who thinks that you can run the column without endorsing atemporal causation, but then you have to say that God is in time at all, right? It doesn't make sense to say that God is timeless, and Craig doesn't want to let go of that. But yeah, it's something to talk about.
I'm looking into like abductive arguments with like Bayesian probability, and that shit's annoying. But what do you think
Yeah,
about
it is
those?
kind of. I don't really like all the Bayes stuff, but so you're reading like Swinburne.
I found like an article online. I have no clue. And then
You
I
should look
looked
at
into
Richard Swinburne. He's like famous for that kind of reasoning, that kind of like probabilistic priors / Bayes theorem in support of the existence of God. Swinburne is like your go-to for that.
I will do. Thank you, Danny. It's always nice to talk to you, man.
All right. See ya. Bye, Austin.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Let's go to the next person. Hey, Sydney. Thanks for the gifts. Thanks for the roses. Let's get this next person in. They're connecting. What's up, Art? What do we disagree about? Oh, are you connected? Hello? Oh, you took too much time, man. I'm going to go to the next person.
Hello?
Hey, what's up? What do you want to? What do we disagree about?
All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the Jesus is transgender, then like the Christianity.
Cool. Okay. Did you hear my argument from earlier?
A little, but you said basically because he went. So we'd say it again, actually.
Yeah. So under Christianity, Jesus existed before the incarnation, right? Jesus before the incarnation is considered the Son of God. It's a he, him, right? It's not a she, not the daughter of God. It's not mere, like, it's not the statements in the Bible about Jesus being the Son of God are literally true, not just presumably not metaphorical. Although if you think they're metaphorical, we can discuss that. I think there's still a way to run the argument. So anyways, Jesus has a gender, right? There are Christians apply gendered terms to him, but he's not a man, right? Jesus is not human, part of the incarnation, so he can't be a man or a woman. And yet he's gendered. So he's like third category of gender, and he has a gender identity. When he chooses to become a man, right, he's changing his gender identity, and that's a transition, transgender.
Except Jesus, like God in heaven, is the Father. He's called the Father.
I'm just talking about Jesus.
Just talking about Jesus in general. Well, then you can make the same concept about us, because our energy, our matter has always existed. So you could say, oh, we were energy, so we were like non-binary, so we changed into a male.
Wait, this is within Christianity, though. I don't think they take the view that we're matter.
So atoms don't exist in Christianity?
On Christianity, we're souls or something like that.
Yeah, we are.
And God created souls. They
So
didn't
you
always
think we're
exist.
all transgender off that? Because we're souls?
Again, Christians are not committed to saying that we existed prior to our births. Right now, if you think so, if I existed before I was born and I had a gender identity before I was born, I just don't remember it, then it wouldn't qualify as transgender, because I think to be transgender, you have to intentionally be transgender. You can't just define yourself being transgender.
Your argument is that, but like I said, he was already the Father, so he would have been the same gender.
Who? Jesus? We're talking about
Yeah.
Jesus, right? Up here it says Jesus.
Jesus is
not
God.
the Father, but Jesus is not the Father. Jesus is the Son of God, right?
They're one, though.
Right, but
No. Hold up. Let me explain something. The Son of God is like it's basically, it's hard to explain, but the Father is God in heaven. The Son of God is God on earth in the flesh, and the Holy Spirit is like the one in us. It's the Holy Spirit. It's how we talk to him. So it's not being literally like a whole different thing. They're just different parts.
I'm just saying that Jesus
versions.
is not the Father, right?
They are one.
Are you an Orthodox Christian in the sense that you take the established Trinitarian doctrine?
No, I'm Catholic.
So you are an Orthodox Christian, and I don't mean Eastern Orthodox. I mean that you accept the Nicene Creed and the Athanasian Creeds, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, in the Athanasian Creed, the persons of the Trinity are distinct, right? As well, I think the Nicene Creed establishes that as well, but you can
Mhm.
correct me, right? So they're distinct. So the Father is not the Son, and the Son is not the Holy Spirit, right? So when you say
Mm.
the Father, I'm not talking about the Father because the Father never changed his gender, never became a man. The Son did because the Son had a gender identity prior to the incarnation and changed it when he became a man.
What was his identity?
Well, it was just a divine gender. I mean, we can just call that X, right? The
No,
point is that
no, he would have been the father. That's Christianity. He would have
Jesus is not the Father. Once again, do you accept the creeds? Or are you a
Yeah.
heretic?
but they're one.
Are you a heretic?
Yeah.
Okay, well then you're just like a bad Catholic, which is fine. So if you don't think that there are distinctions,
Actually, I would say I'm a Protestant, but I go to a Catholic church. So I just believe in the Bible, but I go to a Catholic church.
what type of Protestant are you?
Just I don't know the exact denomination. I just believe in the Bible.
Okay, the Bible. Well, I mean, look, I don't really want to.
The
I
Bible
don't
says
feel like
me and the Father are one.
Yeah, but like you just have no clue like how Christian church fathers and Christian theologians and philosophers interpret the Bible philosophically when it comes to these doctrines, right? So here's what they say, and they say something like this: there are three persons and one substance or one essence, right? They share an essence.
Yes. They're all
Okay?
they're one,
but the
there's three different
persons are
versions.
not the same, right? Now, if you
Yeah,
think the
they're
persons
not
are the same,
Yes.
okay, so there
Okay,
are
and
three
you put that.
persons,
I didn't really understand what you're saying. They're not the same, but they're one. They're
right?
different
But
versions.
no. Well, that sounds like modalism, which is heresy, even amongst a lot of Protestants, right? But what they want to say is that the persons are distinct. The Father is not the Son; they're distinct,
Yes.
but they're united in their essence. Okay,
Yeah,
that's how they.
I guess you could say that.
That's how
So-
they interpret that the statement in the Bible and says the Father and I are one. They interpret that as they share a substance or an essence or nature.
Okay. So then since Jesus was divine and didn't have a gender,
Wait,
you're
no.
saying
No. Because remember, in the Bible, they use gendered language for God, right? God is a king. God is a lord. He's a he,
He's-
him.
he's the father.
Okay,
right?
so then he does have a gender. It's just not a human gender. It's a divine gender.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay, so
So
he
it's
has
not a human.
gender. God has gender.
I know, but
Christ-
father is for man.
Father's
for
for
man.
man, you're saying?
For male.
Is God a male?
I'm saying he's known as a male because the father means is a male who was a kid.
In
And we were all-
Genesis, when God says, "I created male and female," is male not a creation?
Was what? Say that again.
Remember in Genesis.
Okay, wait, no, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. He is
Ye-
a divine presence. Okay.
Yeah, he's not a male.
I
right?
guess in our 21st logics, I guess our logic could mean that he is technically transgender, in a way.
There's a certain sense now. You could redefine transgender to exclude Jesus. Like another definition of transgender is that you're deviating from the assigned gender your society gave you. Okay, I mean, and under that definition, Jesus is not. But the point is that God, in the form of Jesus as the person, and under Christianity, changed his gender. And I think that's like the bare bones of of what transgenderism means. I don't think it's merely in terms of this like assigning, like because you could, I've been assigned. You could have a gender independent of society. I think you could, right? So, and you could then change that. Like if
Okay.
it's just, I mean, but the point is that God changed his gender in the sense that Jesus did.
Okay, I guess so. Technically, by our logic, he could technically be transgender.
Yeah.
So okay, Chris. First, I want to. Do you believe there is some type of? Do you think it is possible that there is a God?
You have to water down the concept, and then I'll say yes, right?
So a divine thinking God that's created everything that could somehow think in.
But just depends on what you mean by divine, right? Like if you're taking divine to mean perfect being, omni
No, okay.
properties.
Okay, I'm saying just a God who created the universe.
Yeah, what do you mean by
that
God
could
here?
that could think in some way.
If you're
What?
saying could there be a mind out there that created or
Yes.
formed the universe, I will say that's possible.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna say here it's actually I'm pretty sure it's a scientific fact that there is technically a higher chance of there being some type of God than there not. It's 67%.
67%. Wow, that's pretty exact. I think there's a good argument to suggest that's not the case. And here, it's a pretty simple argument. This is the simplest argument for atheism. Anyone can run it. Okay, here it is. Every mind that I come across, it has a body. So for all A's, there are B's, right? Every mind, there's a body.
Mhm.
So it's unlikely that there are any minds without bodies. Therefore, if God is a mind without a body, right, then it's unlikely that God exists.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's called, do you know what inductive reasoning is?
No.
Inductive reasoning is in the form of for all A's, there's B's. So the next A, that'll be a B, right? So for every human body I come across, it has a liver, okay, or whatever. I can just make up a better trait if you want. Or DNA is a good example. For every human I come across, it has DNA. So the next human I come across will have DNA, okay? So every mind that I come across or that I come to know or experience has a body. So it's unlikely that there are any minds without bodies. And God is a disembodied mind. So it's unlikely that God exists. And I think that tips the probability in my favor, not in yours.
I wouldn't say so because just because we've only seen each other and what we have doesn't mean that's anything else. There's anything
Right.
else
It's
at all.
not, it's inductive, right? It's not deductive. So inductive logic means that there could be a human without DNA, right? It doesn't follow that just because all humans that we experience have DNA, that necessarily there are no humans without DNA. After all, DNA could be, I mean, logically speaking, there could be a conspiracy, or we could be mistaken about what DNA is. But I mean, I don't believe that. I think that's silliness. But the point is that inductive arguments don't necessitate their conclusions, right? I'm not saying there can't be a mind without a body. I'm just saying it's unlikely.
Okay. But like I said, it is. I'm pretty sure it is a fact. I could give you a source if you want. I don't know how I would give it to you. Do I like to? I could give you a source
A
if you want. It
source?
is.
Is this like a scientific source?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, here's my problem here. Science studies nature, the natural, right?
Yeah, and you're talking about natural, right?
Is God natural?
Yes.
He's not
That's a
supernatural.
confusing question, I guess.
God is not supernatural. He's not beyond nature.
I don't know. That's a weird question.
Well, the point is that what I'm trying to show you is that God is outside the scope of science, just like
Yes.
ghosts
yes.
and souls and maybe even non-natural moral truth, something like that. They're outside the scope of science. So I don't really know if it would make sense to give a scientific argument for God or against God, for that matter.
Well, by God, they mean some type of thinking God that created us in the universe. That's what they mean by God.
I mean, are you talking about
And-
like the Titans? Like you
What do you
know, I
mean?
mean, in Greek mythology, I think I could be wrong, but didn't the Titans form Earth? Are you talking about something like that?
The Titans of Earth. I don't know what that is. I'm just saying it got studied, and it's a higher probability that some type of thinking God created the universe and created the Earth scientifically.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm just a little bit confused, right, about what you're talking about. If you're talking about God,
Yes.
which is some type of mind without a body,
Yes.
right? Then minds without bodies, well, most people might think that those are supernatural, especially if it has omni properties. And if it's supernatural, then science just doesn't apply. It's sort of like using math to prove that, I don't know, that you should eat spaghetti today. I mean, it's just like, what does math have to do with one or the other? It's like a category error. A category error is what we might call it, right? There's a category of supernatural things, the category of natural things. Science only studies the category of natural things. So to use science to try to investigate the category of supernatural things is a category error.
Okay. I do see your point, but I'm saying in general, without what you just said, taking in mind that because as what we could see, only people who have a body and DNA and a brain could think, right? And outside of that, it's saying that there's a higher probability of some type of thinking God that created everything instead of everything just being created by itself.
Well, how about this? How about I'll follow you. Oh, don't make me regret this. No, you seem
Okay.
chill. And you can send me what you have. I mean, just out of
Right now, or do
courtesy.
you want me to do it like
No,
later?
I'm not going to go over it right now, but I'll look at it, and because it seems like what's implied here is that you're not prepared to give the argument. You want me to look at it, right?
I mean, yeah, I didn't study the whole thing to
Right.
get.
And that's fine. I mean, I mean, that happens all the time. Like, oh, I don't know the argument off the top of my head, but I'll get back to you. It's totally respectable. So I followed you. You can send me what you have, and then we can talk another time. All right.
All right. Wait,
Okay.
one actually. Before that, I just want to know why do you think Christianity is false? Except the thought that you don't think God exists.
Yeah. So I think the Trinity and the Incarnation kind of break down, especially under perfect being theology and the Orthodox view of the Trinity, where like you can see it in the Nicene and the Athanasian creeds. I think all of that is nonsense.
Why do you think that?
Well, they want to say that there are three distinct persons, but there's one God, and there's one God in virtue of them sharing an essence. But if you're looking at it that way, then think of it this way, right? Let's say there's a room. There's three persons in a room, right? Person one is human, person two is human, person three is human. Okay, how many humans are there?
3.
3. So now instead of a room, let's think of the universe. So there are 3 distinct persons in this universe. Okay. Person 1 is God. Person 2 is God. Person 3 is God. How many gods are there?
3 by what you said.
That is exactly my
I know,
problem.
but you're taking it literal. You're
Yes.
taking it like
yes,
fully
yes.
literal.
Yes, it's
Once
not
again,
metaphorical. Look, the Orthodox Trinitarians don't think it's metaphorical. They do not think that.
They don't think it's a metaphor. What do you mean by that?
Well, you said it's not literal, which means that it's metaphorical, right?
They're 3 different essence, but they're one. They're 3 different versions.
Look, there's 2 people in this conversation, but there's one human nature.
No, just like with ice, there's solid, liquid, and gas.
Yeah, but that's heresy. I'm fine. I think that makes sense, and I'm fine with you saying that what the persons of the Trinity, well, they're not really persons, they're manifestations of a person. Then I have no problem with that. But that's called modalism. That analogy, the steam, liquid, water, and ice, is used by modalists. They're heretics. Okay. So if you're going towards modalism, I have no problem with you. I think modalism makes sense. You're just a heretic.
Okay, so what is? I don't exactly know what modalism means.
Modalism thinks that Jesus. So think of the water example you gave, right? There's steam, ice, and liquid water. Those are presentations of
different versions,
H2O, right? They're presentations of H2O, right? They're versions of H2O, right? So they're modes of it. Okay. So modalists think that, well, Jesus the Father and the Son, Jesus the Father and the Holy Spirit are presentations or modes of a person, right? Sort of like another modalist analogy that they use is I can be a son, a father, and a brother, right? I'm the son to the man.
Yeah, that's right. Except for God, they all exist at once. They're all together. They all exist at once.
Yeah, that's going to be a little mind-boggling. That's not really the problem. The problem is that in this analogy, it's the whole question is whether you think there are three distinct persons rather than 3 manifestations or modes of a person. Which one is it that you adopt?
I don't know exactly what that means. I'm going to tell you what I believe in, and not in that terms. What is it called? I believe that there's 3 versions and types, but they all exist at the same time, and they're all one. There's 3 different. It's the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. They're all different versions and different types, but they all exist at once, and they're together. They're united.
So the question, look, I as a father, son, and well, I'm not a father yet. I'm a son, brother, and cousin. That all exists at the same time, right? But then the question is, because that's the modalist position.
I'm not saying the concept. I'm saying the essence, not like.
An essence is just what a thing is, right? What it needs
for
it to
how
be
it exists.
Thing.
I think they all exist at
yeah,
the same
I
exist
right now as a cousin, as a brother, and as a son.
Yeah, except they're all united in their
Yeah, I'm
one.
all united. They're all me.
Okay, so
So
exactly.
that's compatible with modalism.
What does that exactly mean?
Again, modalists think that there's one person and that their three manifestations are modes of that one person. Roles, you could consider them roles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that is heresy under the Catholic Church, and Protestants are not fans of modalism either. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like a little too complicated for me. I don't really understand what you're saying. Maybe I'd probably do some more research into this, and I
Okay.
might get back to you. But I think God is might just in a way could just be outside of our comprehension of what we could like think of, and in a way, all religion is going to be some type of faith.
That's kind of my problem, is that I don't understand. Nonsense is outside of my comprehension, right?
I mean, the creation of the universe is outside of your comprehension.
No, it's not. I understand what that means.
What do you think it means? You
Means that there
understand
was
what my religion
a-
means, in a way.
Look, the point is that I know what it means to say at one moment there was no universe, but there was something in that moment that brought about a second moment where there's a universe. That's coherent. That's coherent. But if I said this, in the first moment, the effect interceded the cause down the stairs, right? That's nonsense, right? I can't. That's beyond my comprehension, right? So if you're saying that, oh well, God is beyond our comprehension, then you've opened the door to it being nonsense.
I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that if the universe was created by itself, by something, and if we're taking in like what we know of human essence and like what we know today, it would be impossible, because if that did happen, then everything would be the same temperature. I'm not 100% sure about this.
Oh,
so then
dear.
if that is the truth and that still happened, then that would be outside of our knowledge and what we can comprehend.
All right. Well, I've heard you out. I'm going to move on to the next person. You can send me what you have, and I'll look at it very briefly to see if it's something that could tip something in your favor. But appreciate the request, man. You take care.
All right. Cheerio.
Bye.
Jesus loves you.
Mm-hmm. Let's get the next person. Oh, did they disconnect? Aiden, we've already talked. Let's talk like Tuesday or something, maybe Wednesday. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'm going to stream later tonight. Because, we have kind of lower... I'm coming back tonight, Aiden. Okay, but I think last time I talked to you, and then the last time... I talked to you twice in one day, right? I talked with you by just me, and then it was Blitz and I that talked to you. And I just felt like there was not much progress to be made. You won't be on tonight? Well, then another night. Okay. Guys, I won't be on tonight. The topic is natural design. Oh, dear. Okay. Come request, Aiden. But, Aiden, I don't... Okay, let's see how it goes. I don't want to talk about the universe or any of that. We already talked about that last time. So if you want to change, if you want to talk about something different, I'm all right with it.
Are you okay with talking about natural design versus God's design?
Ooh, am I okay with talking about design arguments? Yes.
Okay, because I know that you're not physics major or whatever, physics professor or whatever. So what I would like to talk about, because I don't know your view on the fine tuning of everything. Like that's about design. That has something to do with design. I know it's about the universe, but it's design. What do you think about fine tuning?
The fine tuning argument. I think that the sort of truths about what if the physical constants were different. Well, what specifically allows for a life permitting universe, and if we were to change those conditions ever so slightly, what would happen? That might be interesting, but I just don't see what it has to do with God, because the whole problem for me is that God doesn't, as a theory, doesn't generate predictions, right? And including the predictions that we have, any predictions about physical constants.
does natural have a like explanation for how the things were designed so precisely? Because like the constants, like the gravitational constant of like 1 part and 10 to the 34th power, that if that was 1 part was changed, then we wouldn't be able to come to be, is what
Well,
I've
look,
learned.
okay, let's just say, first of all, I don't know. There's going to be a point where there's not going to be an answer, period, right? But either because of limitation of my knowledge or just that there's not an infinite series of explanations, right? But
Uh-huh.
here's my problem with fine tuning, right? Think of it this way. Suppose there's something that we want to explain, okay? And we have two
Yeah.
different hypotheses. Let's say the hypothesis A and hypothesis B, all right? And hypothesis A is extremely improbable, 1 times 10 to the negative 90, something
Yeah.
crazy like that, right? Which one is the better explanation, explanation A or explanation B?
What was explanation B?
That's my problem. You see, the point is that I don't know what the God hypothesis, the probability that an all-powerful, all-good, all-knowing, disembodied mind, I don't know the probability of that thing wanting to create this type of universe. So I can't compare. There's nothing to compare, right?
So
I might grant to you that it's improbable that we're here, but I don't know the probability of God wanting to create us. So I can't. It's not going to be something I can get behind.
So what do you think if you say there's no further explanation
Thanks,
to
Shady.
to things? I believe that there would be further explanation to something like the universe of like with our thoughts. We have a brain. We have neurotransmitters that go to certain specific areas of the brain, but there's no naturalistic observation of our thought that comes from after the neurotransmitters go. Like let's say it goes to the
Are we talking about
hippocampus, which is
fine-tuning?
where our memories are stored.
Are we talking about fine tuning? I feel like we changed the subject.
Design.
Oh, okay, design.
Design in general, the unique design is also fine tuning. If I change the subject to thought, because because you've already talked about the fine tuning. So with the thought of it, what do you think about what's behind the uniqueness of our thoughts, where natural can't explain, but it exists?
It's going to be a lot of work to show that natural, that there can't be natural explanations for our minds. That's going to be very hard to show. But let's say you're
We
right.
have a lot. Yeah.
Well, let's say you're right. Okay, I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical. I think there is a dependency relation between the mind and the natural world, and so there's some kind of loose explanation there. But
Okay.
the idea is that what does it have to do with? Okay, so the natural world can't explain it. Therefore, what? God explains
We
it?
have unique thoughts. So I would say the natural isn't even behind unique thoughts themselves. Like they're behind our mind and they're behind the neurotransmitters going to these specific places. But all our neurotransmitters in all of our places that it goes to, like the hippocampus, is the same thing for every person. But we have different thoughts.
I don't know what does this have to do with God?
Because I would believe that God would be behind giving us the differences and unique
Why? Why do you
design
think that?
of our thoughts.
Why do you think that?
Because natural doesn't explain that. Like I feel like
Natural doesn't explain it, therefore
I
God
feel like it
explains
can't. I feel like it can't explain that ever. Because how are you going to observe our thought, like our specific thought?
Yeah,
We
Aiden, that's
can
going to be
never
a
observe.
hard argument to run, right? That's going to be the natural can't explain it, therefore God did it is going to be a very difficult claim to make. Or a different thing, just very difficult to support. So I don't have high hopes.
Okay, but and just in general, our design, like the design of everything, would you agree that design exists, right? There's natural design versus people saying God designed it, right?
It depends on what we mean by design. So
Pattern.
there are
Okay, so do you want to know the nouns of design? What I'm trying to explain?
Well, when we say natural design, we might be talking about biological function, and biological function is tied to, reproductive success and all of that.
No, just the
So,
definition of design itself is what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Like,
but there's still there's different definitions. That's the problem.
yes, I can give you 2 at least, and it says the same thing.
Okay.
And one is an arrangement of lines or shapes created. A lot of people don't like the word created that are atheists, to form a pattern or decoration. And then the next definition is organization or structure of formal elements in a work of art or the composition, which are both nouns. But I'm saying either natural. Would you agree that there's either natural design as an argument or God's design as other people's argument.
I might say they're patterns. I mean, have you ever seen like water molecules when they freeze? There's a nice
Yes.
little crystal, right? There's a kind of crystallization that you can call that a pattern. And if you're just saying that what design is just their patterns and order in nature, certainly, okay. But what does that have to do with God? Why is it
So
that?
there's a
Because they're essentially, what it starts to sound like to me is that because there's crystals, therefore God. Literally, water because of
No.
God, therefore God.
the uniqueness. So like when a human makes a water bottle, we're having different thoughts in general that natural can't probably ever explain. Plus that we can all make different
Thanks,
water
Shady.
bottles unique. So I'm saying the uniqueness behind everything in the universe, when you compare it to humans' mind and how we make things unique and we're creating things, I don't see how it couldn't be questioned by you, like why you wouldn't believe that it could be God when everything is so unique.
Well, okay, look,
and
I'm fine with
fine-tuned.
saying for sake of argument that it could be God. The question is what's reasonable here, right? It could be a lot of things that we're ruling out. It could be that they're celestials or that they're Marvel characters behind the scenes, right? Time could be personified. I don't know. I can make stuff up. The point is that why should I accept that the God hypothesis is better than any other kind of hypothesis? And the problem with the God hypothesis is going to be what I said originally. It generates no predictions.
Well, design has evidence. There's evidence of design. There's no evidence of the I don't knows, and I believe that there will never
But the
be
way that
evidence
you're
of the I
using
don't know.
design, the way that you're using design here is just being patterns and crystal stuff, right?
Yes, there's evidence of it being possible for a mind to be behind a design because
But
of
I'm not
humans.
disputing that. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's not reasonable.
But I'm
It's not
saying,
it's not a good hypothesis.
but what I'm trying to say is, since nature doesn't explain, and I believe that it can never explain something that we can't observe, then it is not possible to be behind the uniqueness of
So let's just
design.
take an example. So I see a crystal, okay, like say calcite
We-
or something, okay, and okay, so how do we go from calcite to therefore God? I don't get it.
We can observe that, but we can't observe our unique thoughts, like our specific thoughts. We can observe that it's happening and where our neurotransmitters are going, but we cannot observe, oh, you just thought about candy, you know? So with that unexplainable, non-observable thing that is unique from each different person, I would believe that the natural view would not apply to how unique everything is because it can't explain the non-observable. Therefore,
Okay, Aiden, I'm not following, but I'm there. I have a line of people, and I'm probably
that's
gonna move on
fine.
to the
Yeah,
next
I just
person.
wanted to
All right.
talk about design today, and I don't have much time, but thank you for letting me come
Yeah,
on.
no, of course. You got my perspective, and if you want to re-listen to the conversation, it's on my YouTube. All right.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Okay.
I'm just saying, for you to say someone a heretic and you not to know scripture yourself is a fallacy.
Is modalism heretical?
Yes, but I don't claim to.
Okay,
do
so if someone's
modalism.
excuse me, if someone's a modalist, are they a heretic?
Yes, but
Okay, so you agree
let
with me. What are you going on about?
what I'm going on about is you agnostic and atheist always say that we cherry pick when you only pick one verse and don't read the full context of everything.
What do we disagree about, man?
What do I disagree about? A decent amount of things. Like, how do you think this world comes from nothing to something? It doesn't just plop.
Atheists don't have to believe that. That's not entailed by atheism. Atheists can believe that the universe has always existed. Atheists can believe that there could be a cause to the formation of the universe, but the natural world always exists. There's a lot of views we could take. We could also take
Well, I don't believe that there's multiple modes of God, but what we have to experience. He sent himself down in the flesh to experience what we experience, to perform miracles. Bring me a book that has performed as many prophecies as the Bible. You can't.
Are we just moving on from the point? Are we moving on from the point? Are you conceding that atheists don't have to believe that something came from nothing? Are you conceding that?
I'm not conceding that.
Well,
Some
then
of them do, some of them don't.
okay, so then you can be an
there we go.
atheist. So then you can be an atheist and not believe that. So what is so you were wrong in saying that atheist or you were implying that atheists have to believe that something came from nothing. We don't have to believe that at all.
I understand, but a decent amount of them. That's why I spoke on that.
How many
topic.
of them? What would you say? Percentage. How many atheists
I
believe that
don't know
something
the
came from
exact
nothing?
percentage, but
You don't
but
know. Well, you don't
a
know what you're
decent
talking
amount.
about, right? Like many atheists are actually going to agree that, or at least be sympathetic to the idea that maybe the universe has always been here. Maybe the natural world is all there is and all there was and always will ever will be. Carl Sagan said that. It's very influential to a lot of people that are non-religious, right? So I don't know where you're coming saying that most atheists or many of them believe that something came from nothing.
Because a decent amount that I've spoke to before. A decent amount that I've
All
spoke
right.
to before.
Well, now
Okay.
you're educated. Now you can just you don't have to think that anymore. Many atheists do not accept that.
Okay. The other thing is, where does you think your moral construct come from? Denomination was made by man, not by God, and you're trying to go off of the Catholics, the Pentecost, and the
I'm lost. What are you talking about? You're
denomination.
asking where morals come from?
Morality, and you were talking about denomination earlier, and you were trying to go, oh, they believe this is a heresy, this, that, or the other, but you don't even know scripture yourself.
Sorry, what did I say in that context that you disagree with?
What I'm saying you were talking about denomination. You weren't talking about soulness with Christ.
I was probably, yeah, I would bet
Surrender and soul with
that
Christ.
I've been, well, just on a side note, I bet I was a Christian longer than you. How long have you been a Christian?
Since I was 7. But listen.
Okay, how long? How many years?
What you have to understand.
I want to just test this. This is not particularly relevant to your argument, but I'm just curious. For my curiosity, how long have you been a Christian?
Since I was 7.
And how old are you? Are you over the age of 18?
I'm 19.
Okay, so I'm 30. Okay, and I deconverted from Christianity when I was 27. Right, so I have way more knowledge about theology than you do.
It? No. The question that I give people who always say that, did you study it just to study it for your own beneficial need, or do you study it to surrender your old life to Christ and surrender your sin towards Christ and
I don't
carry
understand the
cross daily?
question.
And
I'm interested in Christianity academically. Did I answer your question?
Exactly. So you weren't a Christian in the first place. What I'm basically saying.
Wait, do you think that there are
what I'm
no
basically
Christian?
saying-
Excuse me. Do you think theologians at universities that are Christians or identify as Christians are not Christian? Because they're like
No.
Gary Habermas, right? Gary Habermas is at Liberty University, one of the most famous Christian historians and New Testament thinkers. Is he not a Christian? Because he treats it-
No. What I'm saying is we're called to deny yourself in front of him and carry the cross daily and express the fruits of Christ.
You're just preaching. I'm going to the next person.
Yo,
Hey, Pokey, what do we disagree about?
can you give me just 2 seconds to put my headphones on?
No problem.
Thank you.
What's up? Shady, you've been very generous today. Evil, I can't help myself. Sometimes I get these. I'm very moody when I'm live. Evil, like I said I was gonna leave, but then I decided to stay, and then now I have a headache because I need to take my Tylenol. Oh crap! I have nothing to drink with.
Okay, man, I'm all set.
All right. Cool. What do you want to talk about?
I disagree that Jesus is transgender.
Okay. Have you heard my argument for this?
I think so, but I could use a recap.
All right. So under Christianity, Jesus existed prior to the incarnation. Jesus is a gendered under Christianity. Jesus is the Son of God. It's a he, him, not a she, not a he. Jesus is King and Lord. There's a lot of background noise. Okay. There's so Jesus is a he, him. Jesus is a Lord, the Son of God, a king, not a queen, right? Nothing like that, according to most Christians. Okay. So Jesus is gendered prior to the incarnation, but that gender can't be man or woman or male or female, right? Because he's not human. It's only until his incarnation that he changed his gender, that he changed his gender identity, right? He changed from the divine gender to the gender of man identity, right? He changed from the divine gender to the gender of man or male.
So you're drawing a distinction between trans male divine and then trans male. Um, trans male divine and then trans male human, or male divine and then male human.
Well,
Maybe
I
that's a
don't know
better way to
if
put it.
it depends on what you mean by male there, but yeah, you're going from a masculine divine gender, we could say. Masculine is
Yes.
going to be used there kind of loosely. And then we have that transition to a human man, which is a different gender. And not only is the gender changing, but the gender identity is changing. Jesus sees himself differently in both in each context.
Okay, I don't know much about the divine masculine thing. I have never heard that before, and I grew up Christian. I grew up
But you know
Catholic
that God is a
specifically.
he, right?
I've heard them they've described God as a he. I guess the distinction between divine he and human he, that's the thing that I've not really heard before. To me, it's just a transition, whereas when I think of trans, and I think when most people think of trans in a colloquial sense, they are thinking within their respective human beings using hormones or otherwise to transition.
Well,
from
that's
one
what I
gender
think of.
to
I mean, I'm an
another.
atheist,
And I
right?
think right, and so I think the colloquial definition, I think it's you're describing a transition that is hypothetical, because also that's presupposing that there is a defined
Oop, did you cut out?
outside of just what's written in the Bible, you know.
Yeah, I'll give this to you. Definitely, there's a connotation associated with transgender, and that partly has to do with the type of technology we have to facilitate transitioning. But imagine if we had perfect technology, right, where you could change anything about your biology, then the connotation
Yeah.
of transgender would be completely different, right? I could just go into
No
the
way.
machine and come out. I go in the machine, come out like Scarlett Johansson, and people, I would be transgender, especially if I changed my gender identity. But people would have, if you could do stuff like that, where you could come out that way, people are going to have a different connotation associated with the term transgender. But there's a concept at play, right? The idea is that many Christians, especially right-leaning Christians, say that it doesn't make sense to change your gender, number one, when they talk about criticisms of transgenderism. And number two, they think gender and sex are the same thing, where sex is biological, right? And so that doesn't make any sense, given that they gender God prior to the incarnation. And so this is kind of the point of the statement. The point of the statement is to attack that gender and sex are not the same thing, that you can change your gender, that can make logical sense, because it happened on Christianity.
That's the last part is where I get a little lost, but I'm 100% with you on all of that. I am an atheist myself, but I think, like I said, calling Jesus transgender, I think is, I don't want to say disingenuous, because it's like
I know what you're
making
saying.
the argument, but it's like, I think it's taking away from what the colloquial sense.
That might be true. I might concede that.
To me, here's maybe a similar argument. It's like saying bananas are monster trucks because they are all made up of atoms. And it's like, yes, bananas and monster trucks share the same fundamental qualities of what makes them up. However, they are different things. And I think saying like Jesus is trans because of the divine masculine and human masculine thing is very different than saying a human being is trans. We don't, like, you and I don't even believe in Jesus. So that's like admitting in some way we have to kind of like agree that there is a divine masculine in the first place.
Well, there could be. I'm fine with saying that there could. Look, the point is that let me start with agreement, right? I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't actually believe Jesus is trans, and I understand that transgenderism or transgender people there's a certain connotation. In other words, when we think of transgender men and women, there's certain images or situations or contexts that pop up, and that kind of violates what the statement what we think of, and the statement Jesus is trans don't seem to cohere. But I think that highlights an issue. Number one, that we should be very wary of the connotations that are associated with transgender men and women, and those should change eventually, I think, because right now we think of gender men and women, there's a lot of negative connotations, even if you're pro trans, because there's high suicide rates, there's bullying, and there's people that struggle in conforming their bodies to their commitments, right? And I wish all of that would change. And the essence of what it means to transgender is saying, hey, I have this gender identity, or I had or this gender identity was assigned to me, and I'm making an effort to change it, or I have changed it. Okay. And I think that is the bare bones of the concept. And when you look at the bare bones of the concept, independent of all those contexts and all that connotation, then it applies to, I think, Jesus. And so that's all I'm trying to say.
Is there somewhere in the Bible, is there some textual evidence that indicates Jesus acknowledging a distinction between divine and human gender identity?
Well, think about that. It's going to be hard to say it explicitly, but remember, in the Genesis, God created male and female, right? So the point is that when we apply these gendered terms to God, right, it can't be linked to biological maleness.
Sure.
Because presumably many Christians think that God was king and Lord, and he and him, prior to the creation of any biological systems, right? So that's one thing to indicate that maybe gender and sex are distinct within Christianity. But I would have to, so the question was, is there anything in the Bible that will distinguish the divine gender and the human genders explicitly? I don't know if there's any explicit stuff, but I think you can kind of dance and infer around.
I think it's a really fun argument that you're making, and it really threw me for a loop whenever I heard it. I was like, oh man, I see where you're coming from, but I still don't know if I fully agree. I think what would really help get me on the same page is if there was some textual evidence to suggest God, he, as he is referred to in the Old and New Testament, is different than human he. And if that exists somewhere, that would be so juicy. That would be so fun.
Maybe it doesn't exist, but I think, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but here's the emphasis, right? The emphasis of such a statement like this is to get Christians to think about gender and sex, because I think that especially right-leaning Christians think of gender and sex in a very flawed way. They think they have to go together, right? They have to go together, but obviously they don't all, right? And so it's to get Christians to think about the transgenderism as conceptually, to help them understand that, maybe forcibly, help them understand that gender and sex are not the same thing, and that you're not delusional for wanting them to change your gender or for changing it. That is the point of the statement. I could care less if Jesus is transgender per se. I could be wrong about that. It doesn't really matter. I just really want them to understand, hey, on your view, gender and sex has got to be distinct. And there's a sense in which we can think of Jesus kind of changing gender in a way, right? There's a sense in which you could think about it in this way. And that's the point of the statement.
Definitely. When I was practicing Catholic as a kid, and I went to Catholic school and mass and everything like that, at times they even suggested that God may be outside the conception of a gender, and took these different parts to create human beings, but is the kind of the Gestalt theory is larger than the sum of those two things, and something that we couldn't even understand. And I don't know if that is suggested anywhere in the text, because quite frankly, at this point, I am an atheist and I am don't have enough time or care enough to go try to find an argument for this sort of thing. But if that is suggested somewhere in the Bible, I also think that would really give weight to what you're trying
So
to
what I'm
argue
saying,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
you might be,
Especially if you
right.
if you don't
yeah.
think of God as a he, because also why the fuck would you? That doesn't even make sense. Like trying to put pronouns like he and she or something on a God. Like it seems like it would be way bigger than that. But
Well, you know, like there's a naturalistic understanding of why ancient peoples assign masculinity to God, and it had to do something with subjugating like the ruling men, the class, you know, the patriarchy, I guess, you know, like if you thought of your gods as more feminine rather than masculine, you know, it was kind of harder to like intellectually subjugate people at that time. So because you know it was all about my God has a bigger dick than your God.
I was just literally gonna say that.
Oh, really?
My
Yeah.
God's dick is bigger than your dick.
Exactly. Right. So
Yeah.
that's like, I think that's like the origin of gender and the divine, as far as I think
didn't
that's
know that.
reasonable. Yeah. But you should look into it. I think I pulled that off from like the History Channel, so God knows if that's still reliable. But you should look into it. But
I'll check it
you
out.
know.
I'm gonna
All
get
right.
out of here so you can argue with some other people. But this was super fun. Thank you for having me up.
Absolutely. See ya. Bye. All right.
Hello, how's it going?
Hey, Think. What do you want to talk about? What do we disagree about?
I just have a, I just have a small, what is the name? I have a, I'm struggling with the idea of what you're saying right there, that God is, that in this case, that Jesus himself being transgender, right? So, yeah, I heard, most of your talk and everything, about your point of view and everything like that, but I just, without you going into any kind of scientific data or anything like that, please tell me why is it that you believe that Jesus, being the most powerful man in the entire fucking universe, is transgender?
I thought you said you listened. I have to go through it again, but that's okay. First of all, I don't believe that person like myself. I'm just saying Christians are going to be committed that Jesus changed his gender, right? Because he wasn't a man at one point, and he had a gender identity, and he changed his gender identity during the incarnation. So that's all I mean, that he's like transgender.
But can you give me your definition of transgenderism?
Yeah, there are a lot of definitions. There's not one definition. It's an umbrella term, but the definition I'm using in my argument is someone that intentionally changes their gender identity.
Their gender identity, okay. Meaning that if the person is born a male, molecularly a male or a female, over time might decide that he's no longer a male and wants to become a
That's
female.
an example,
right?
That's an example.
Okay. So, all right, give me the sources of why you believe that Christ is a transgender.
It's an a priori argument, right? It's not like a priori arguments are deductive. I'm just saying that based on this definition and that definition and what Christians say about Jesus and that he existed before the incarnation, it logically concludes that Jesus changed his gender.
Because he existed before the incarnation, and because before he was born or anything like that, he just changed gender.
And not just changed it, he intentionally, he existed before the incarnation, and he thought to himself, after the Father sent him, I'm going to become a man. That's a type of intentional decision to change his gender identity.
So hold on, let me see if I can understand this correctly, because I'm kind of lost here. Okay, so let me give you just a little bit of a story about me. There was a point in time where I didn't, I asked my mentor, what is it to be truly a man? Now, let me tell you something. Before I asked that question, I wasn't asking that question with a point of view on the LGBTQ community or anything like that. I wasn't even, I'm not even slightly getting closer to that. But what I was saying, is that when you're a boy, let's just derail a little bit from Jesus, just to give you my example. When you're a little boy, you don't really know what being a man is, right? You don't pay bills when you're a little boy. You're just playing around, with dolls or without dolls, with action figures or without action figures. You even
Sorry,
sometimes.
I lost. I zoned out. Well, I feel like we're rambling. Can you kind
No,
of
no, no, no.
condense
See,
this?
I'm hold on. I'm trying to make my point across. Okay, just real quick. I won't take much time. So here, when you're a boy, you don't know what being a man is. Being a man has a basic, really strong meaning. Being a man, is being able to take care of your family. Having some fundamental values, being
Did
strong
did
mentally.
Jesus have a family?
Yes, he did.
Who
Being,
is
being
he?
strong mentally and physically. We'll get to that at some other point. Hold on.
Okay.
We are being strong mentally and physically. So when you're a boy, when you're a teenager, you are not really a man because you don't have responsibilities, you don't have leadership skills, possibly. That's the term, that's the reason why a lot of people are saying you are not a man. You're not a man right now. You're not ready to even be a man. That's what Jesus was talking about. He wasn't talking about, the Bible, the scriptures doesn't talk about genderism. He does. It does.
I'm sorry. You're just too boring.
I know I
What's
have
up?
a choice. It doesn't really matter. Though.
Are you over the age of 18?
No, but I'm mature enough. I don't start going crazy.
Oh, that's not the problem. It's TikTok is the problem. They don't allow people under the age of 18 to contribute. It's not my rule. Hello, Hanson. What do we disagree about? You have a lot of background noise. Are you mowing the lawn?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you and much more. What is all that background noise?
Good.
Okay, can't do it. I'm sorry. And you sounded young too. Whew. I'm letting Donkey in, but Donkey is connecting. Okay, I'm looking for an excuse to end the live, guys, but I'm trying to get through these guests. Oh no.
All right.
Oh, sorry. I forgot I had kicked you. Sorry. Why did you re-request when I kicked you? I don't understand. What's up? Is it Jurgen? I don't know your name. The Anna? Anna? Hello?
Hello, Danny.
No, I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm going to get servant for Jesus. I have high hopes for this conversation. Let's go. What do we disagree about, servant?
Hey, let's talk about Jesus being. You believe he's a transgender because he chose to be a man?
Well, he had a gender identity before. He had preferred pronouns before the
No.
incarnation.
Show me.
Is Jesus the Son of God?
Yep.
Is Jesus the daughter of God?
No.
Okay, so he
Never
preferred.
was.
All right, so Jesus is a son, not a daughter. So he's gendered, right?
Always was a male from beginning to end.
Okay, did Jesus create male and female in Genesis?
Yep.
Okay, so that means male and female didn't always exist.
God created Adam and Eve.
I'm not
Jesus is
I know
God.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that I'm pointing out that you're wrong, that male and female has always existed, right? Male specifically. God created male.
In his consciousness, when he had a plan, it always existed till it came to pass.
Excuse me. Has male always existed?
In God's mind, yes.
Just true or false? Male has always existed.
In God's mind, yes, that's a
No,
fact.
I asked you, do you know what, have you ever been, did you do middle school? Do you know true or false questions? So true or false, male has always existed. True or false?
In God's mind, yes, true.
True or false? You would fail this quiz, man.
True.
True or false?
True.
What's
I
true?
won.
All
True.
right. Okay, true. Now, did Jesus create male and female? Thanks for the
Yes.
train. Okay, so do you know if something is created, it hasn't always existed because it can't exist before it was created. So you just contradicted yourself.
No, that's physical. Do you know that God creates in his brain before it comes to pass? Yes or no?
You already said that it was that male has always existed, but then you also said male was created, and those are two contradictory statements.
Listen. Before he created the physical Adam, which is a male, before he created him, he was already pre-planned in his mind that he was going to create Adam.
That doesn't get you out of the contradiction because you assented to statements that contradicted yourself. That caused you
All
to
right, but we're not going to. Let's get to the male was created in the beginning. All right, let's get there now.
The point is that
Now-
is male biological?
Yes.
Okay, is God biological?
God?
Yeah.
He's a living. He's a living
Why
thing.
are you answering different questions than the ones I'm
We
asking?
can't put him in a test tube. We can't put God in a test
Look,
tube.
I'm about to put you in a test tube, right? Is God biological?
Give me an example by that. Has a heartbeat. What are you talking about?
Biology. You know what biological is? Organism? Stuff that biologists study?
Again, we can't put God in test tubes.
Okay, I'm pouring you out in the sink. I have no patience. I have no patience, guys. I used to have patience for this. I don't have it anymore. I don't have it anymore. Maybe in a different world. And I said I was going to get off my live 15, 20 minutes ago, and this is why, because I've lost my patience. I'm going to come back tonight. Okay? I'll come back tonight. Y'all come back. Go ahead and follow me. All right? I'm trying to stream as much as I can, but now that I'm going back to working and I'm busy, I'll try to stream more on the weekends if I can. I'll come back tonight. You can re-request if you didn't get to talk with me. Let's say I'll be back within the next 10 hours. Hey, Amy, I'm glad you're on TikTok now. Amy Newman is a friend of mine on YouTube. Awesome person. All right.